Dragon Rescue, Chapter 17, The Rain Dragon. They discovered the reason for the giant metal trap. It had held the rain dragon in a place so that someone could take one of her horns. Who would hurt such a beautiful creature? Pearl's eyes filled with angry tears. A hunter, Ben guessed. But what kind of a hunter lives in the imaginary world? Was it a person or another creature? Maybe the rain dragon's horns are valuable, just like an elephant's or a rhinoceros's. Poachers kill animals for their horns. That's mean, Meadowmouth said. This is the most horrible thing I've ever seen. I wish my Aunt Millie was here. She'd put whoever did this in jail. Puzzled, Ben chewed his lower lip. Why hadn't the hunter taken both horns? Maybe it was easier to take one at a time since each horn was bigger than a refrigerator. Whoever did this might come back, he realized. The hairs at the base of his neck electrified with the thought of facing someone or something capable of such brutality. Meadowmouth covered his own horns with his paws. I want to go home. Pearl patted his leg. It's okay, don't worry. We won't let the mean old hunter hurt you. I promise. How can she make such a promise, Ben thought. They knew nothing about the imaginary world and the creatures that lived there, but her words had seemed to put Meadowmouth at ease because he lowered his paws and nodded. Feeling very sweaty, Ben took off his lab coat and laid it on the ground. Then he cupped his hands around his mouth and hollered up at the rain dragon. Who did this to you? Hello? The dragon didn't reply, nor did she open her eyes. She's a Chinese dragon, Pearl said. Do either of you speak Chinese? Both Ben and Meadowmouth shook their heads. Another drop of green blood rolled down the dragon's face and landed near Ben's foot. She might not understand us, but we need to stop that bleeding, he said. You're right. Pearl searched the black satchel and found an odd assortment of circular, triangular, and star-shaped bandages. Drat! These aren't big enough. Hey, what about this? Ben grabbed a bottle he'd seen earlier, the one labeled Wu's Wound Glue. It might help. Dr. Wu used that stuff on me when I stepped on a fork, Meadowmouth said. Ben figured he'd been stealing the fork at the time. My toe's as good as new. He held out his left paw and wiggled the third toe. We'll have to climb. Climb her face? Ben thought this sounded like a very rude thing to do. We're so small she probably won't even notice, Pearl said. But Meadowmouth should stay down here. He's way too big. His claws might hurt her. I don't want to stay down here alone. Meadowmouth's ears collapsed, and he wrapped his tail around himself. What if the poacher comes back, huh? What if? It struck Ben as odd that such a big creature could look so afraid. But he didn't blame Meadowmouth one bit. Clearly this poacher was ruthless and cruel. Just use your big mean voice, Ben said. The one we heard on the hospital roof. It scared me. Me too, Pearl said. Meadowmouth nodded. Then he raised himself onto his hind legs, unfurled his mighty wings, and said, You mean this voice? His eyes flashed, and a flame shot out of his mouth. Even though Ben knew it was just an act, a jolt of fear ran down his legs. Meadowmouth sat back down and smiled. Like that? Yeah, Ben said with amazement. Just like that. Pearl took off her lab coat and tied it around her waist. After a boost from Meadowmouth, Ben and Pearl stood on the rain dragon's upper lip, right in front of her snout. Ben had expected steam to seep out of the cave-sized nostrils, but her breath was cool. It felt like air conditioning. Ben raised his arms and let it waft over his body.